Hey guys, Kirk here from Kirk's Aquariums, bringing you guys yet another episode. Today we're just going to do an angelfish guide, so care, tips, tricks, all that kind of thing in raising and keeping angelfish successfully. So stay tuned guys and we'll get to it. So angelfish are actually a really easy fish to keep, in my experience at the least. Basically, if you're going to pick angelfish and you've never had angelfish for the first time, couple of things to look out for. Number one, making sure you've got a big enough tank long term for the angelfish to grow. A lot of people don't realise, but angelfish actually grow to quite a big size once they're full adult. I've seen angelfish sometimes, get quite big in size. So anything under sort of like a 2 foot long term probably isn't going to be the best size tank for them. You're going to want something like at least a 2 foot or onwards, ideally a 3 foot tank. Some nice plants in there. Angelfish will always appreciate a nice planted tank. It's always going to be a beneficial thing anyway, but a nice 3 foot tank or 2 foot tank at the least will do fine. And ideally, if you're only going to want to have an angelfish just to look nice, I would recommend just getting one angelfish as opposed to like 2 or 3. If you're looking at breeding that particular strain of angelfish, I'd probably look at getting at least 5 or 6 to begin with, and then seeing and growing them out and enjoying them and seeing what happens when it comes to like pairing and stuff like that. But if you get 2 or 3 and you're only intending just to keep them, sometimes they can actually like pick on each other a little bit, and usually one will be a bit more aggressive than the other 2 and sort of dominate the other 2. It depends what the sexes are as well, but typically if you just want an angelfish because you like angelfish and you're not looking at breeding them or anything like that, you just want to appreciate the angelfish, just get one angelfish and put it in a nice community tank. For the most part they're going to do fine with most of your tetras, rainbows, they'll go well with rams, all that kind of thing. Pretty good community fish tank, they'll go fine in. As long as the water's not crazy bad, like they're not going to do well with African cichlids or anything like that. You want them in that sort of like 7 pH is like ideal for them. They'll go anywhere from like 6 all the way up to like 8 sort of pH. But yeah, that 7, 7.2, 7.4 is kind of ideal, is what I think, for them. And so yeah, basically you're just going to enjoy the angelfish. I personally like to pick out angelfish when they're about like that 10 to 20 cent piece sort of size. Growing them out in your water and getting them onto your food and stuff like that from an earlier age just is a bit more rewarding, like most fish, getting to watch them grow up and everything like that. So on top of that, you've also got angelfish who like to typically eat a lot of food when they're young, and you want to feed them quite a fair bit of food as well to get that size on them. When you go to a fish shop or you're going to pick out angels, typically you want to see like a nice meaty angelfish. You don't really want to see the real thin angels, which is kind of a bit hard to spot because angelfish are typically a thinner fish. But the real scrawny, thinny ones, you want to kind of stay away from. You want a nice, robust, chunky sort of angelfish. Watching them eat is a good sign. If the ones that are real aggressive eaters are the ones that you kind of want to pick. Again, there's a million different strains of angels. There's albinos, there's black angels, there's the ultrams, which look really nice. You've got your Philippine blues, you've got your red koi angels. The list goes on and on. So there's heaps of different variety. They're not everyone's cup of tea, but angelfish have been in the hobby for a long time. If you're looking at breeding angelfish, really good fish at getting someone who wants to progress their breeding from, say, live bearers like mollies and guppies and stuff, onto things like angelfish are a good first beginner egg laying fish, I suppose to say. But yeah, they are a good fish to begin breeding. Relatively easy to breed. Basically, like I said before, if you're looking at getting a few to breed, pick yourself up like about 6 to 8, sort of around that like nice like 10 to 20 cent piece mark. That's just gonna let them grow out. Give it about 6 to 10 months and you're gonna have nice, pretty much almost fully grown size angelfish. They're gonna probably breed at about that 6 month size. Realistically, hopefully they'll pair off naturally. Once that happens with your stock, you can separate those pair and then that way give them a tank to themselves, preferably like a minimum, like a 2-foot tank to themselves. You can put something in there like a slate, because angelfish will lay their eggs on a vertical surface. So usually they'll lay them on like a filter pipe or like a leaf, like a straight leaf that's going up. They'll lay up on that. I've seen them lay on the side of a heater. So if you put something like a slate, I use like a piece of terracotta saucer that I just cut down and made it into like a slate, and that's easy enough to lay on that, and then you pull the eggs from that. Typically you put the eggs in like a jar or something else like that, and then you add a couple of drops of methylene blue to the water. That ensures that the eggs aren't going to fungus, or help stop fungus from spreading to viable eggs. In about 5 to 6 days, you should just start seeing the eggs starting to wriggle, and after that you'll see them hatch, and they'll be free swimming usually like a day or two after that. Basically you want to feed them up on baby brine shrimp if you can, or a lot of like micro food. That's going to help ensure like fast growth on them in the first week, and then basically from there on you just enjoy raising up your baby angels that you've made. You'll hopefully successfully make a few hundred. Sometimes they'll make up to 500 or 600 angelfish in a spawn. Typically they have to be pretty healthy and conditioned right to do that. Most times you're not going to get all 600 angelfish survive. You'll have to do some culling sometimes as well. Some of your angelfish, just sometimes genetics, or the parents could have like damaged the egg whilst looking after them. Sometimes the babies can come out with deformed fins and deformed spines and stuff like that. And so culling for angels is something that most people that are going to breed angels will probably have to do in some point in their life. And so it's never the nicest thing, but the last thing you want to do is give the store that you're selling fish to a deformed or a sick looking angelfish. That's not going to help anyone. So the best you can do is just to cull them out of your spawn and make sure none of them go to the store or anything like that. You typically don't want to even keep them and breed them as well. You unfortunately just have to cull them, but that is just part of the breeding life. And other than that, angelfish are pretty good, so this is pretty much just a quick one. Again, like I said, on pH, pretty much like most community fish, around that 7 mark is going to be ideal. Anywhere, somewhere in between is fine as well, like 7.4, 7.6 is fine. Temperature wise, they're going to do fine around that 26, 28, all the way up to 30 degrees. I wouldn't push them much higher than 30 degrees. Somewhere around that 26 to 27 is a nice temperature to keep your angelfish at. If you're breeding them, probably about like 28 is a nice temperature to breed them at as well. I just find if you're wanting to put some serious weight on them, a good food for them is their frozen bloodworm. So I should probably talk about food for them as well. But yeah, frozen bloodworm is a really good food. They really enjoy it. It really packs some weight on and helps trigger breeding. So that's just a little tip if you don't know that one. Just start feeding your pair of angelfish some frozen bloodworm, and hopefully with some water changes and heavy feeding you'll trigger them to spawn. But yeah, it's just a good food in general to pack some size on your angelfish. They'll eat a heap of other fish as well. They'll eat lots of live food like your live blackworms and stuff like that. They'll also eat flake food, pellet food. They're not really that fussy. They're pretty much going to eat most food. Like I said, a really good fish for even beginner fish, not a bad fish to have even as a beginner, so long as the fish tank is big enough size to keep them long term. If you're having them in like a 3-foot tank, you probably want about 6, no more. If you have them in only like a 2-foot tank, you'd probably only want like 2 max, maybe 3. Again, if you're getting them for breeding, you want like a handful, unless you know male and female very well. Typically, if you're not really sure on male and female, it can be a little bit difficult to tell at a young age. That's why I usually recommend getting a handful of them when they're a smaller size. 1, they're going to be cheaper. 2, they're going to grow out in your water. And 3, you're going to not guarantee, but have a higher chance of picking up at least 1 or 2, male or female, out of that group of 6. Instead of just buying 1 or 2 at the small size, you might grow them up for like a whole 6 months and then realize they're both male or they're both female. So if you're looking at getting them for breeding, I always recommend getting at least 5 or 6 and then raising them up in your water, and going from there, and I think you're going to have a lot more success if you're looking at breeding them. But that's a bit of a help for you guys, and if you enjoyed watching this video, give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more videos like this in the future, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and if you want to be notified when I make new videos, don't forget to go and hit that bell button. It'll help heaps. So thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you guys in the next one. Also guys, just a quick tip, I forgot to put it in the video, in that part just then, but if you guys have got the angelfish to lay eggs, but all the eggs have actually gone white on you, and that keeps happening over and over again, it actually can be your water hardness might be too high, or the male might not be fertilizing the eggs properly. So just keep trying over and over, and if it keeps happening, again, check that water hardness, and if you can, try and bring the water hardness down, and that'll help make the eggs survive a bit better for you. Or if you've got a backup male hanging around, maybe try switching the male out if the water hardness is fine, and hopefully that might give you success as well. Anyway guys, that's all the tips for now. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.